again. Welcome back to week 8 of distance learning. Let's jump back into Wayside Stories with chapter 5, where we will learn a little bit about Todd. Your thinking thought for this week. Even though this chapter is about Todd, I want you to pay attention to Mrs. Jules' actions, thoughts, dialogue, and feelings to describe her personality. Remember, personality traits what we learn about a character based on what they say, do, think, and feel. You can use this chapter or the previous 2 chapters. Remember, in chapter 1, we talked about Mrs. Gorf's personality. The children of Wayside School, Dante, Jayla, and Rayvon described Mrs. Gorf as mean, rude, and impatient. They called her mean, rude, and impatient because she turned kids into apples anytime she thought they were doing something wrong. They didn't get a warning. They didn't get their name on the board. They didn't get time out. They didn't get recess attention. They got turned into apples. Let's take a look at chapter 5 and see how we would describe Mrs. Jules. Chapter 5, Todd. All the children in Mrs. Jules' class, except Todd, were talking to carry on. Todd was thinking. Todd always thought before he spoke. When he got an idea, his eyes lit up. Todd finished thinking and began to speak. But before he said 2 words, Mrs. Jules caught him. "Todd," she said, "you know better than talking in class. You must learn to work quietly like the other children." She wrote his name on the blackboard under the word discipline. Todd looked around in amazement. All the other children who had been talking and screaming and fighting only seconds earlier were quietly working their workbooks. Todd scratched his head. A child was given 3 chances in Miss Jules' class. The first time he did something wrong, Miss Jules wrote his name on the blackboard under the word discipline. The second time he did something wrong, he put a check next to his name. And the third time he did something wrong, she circled his name. Todd reached into his desk and pulled out his workbook. He had only just started on it when he felt someone tap him on the shoulder. "What page are you on?" Joy asked. "Page 4, Todd whispered. "I'm on page 11, said Joy. Todd didn't say anything. He didn't want to get in trouble. He just went back to work. 5 minutes later, Joy tapped him again. Todd ignored her. So Joy poked him in the back with her pencil. Todd pretended he didn't notice. Joy got up from her seat and sharpened her pencil. She came back and poked it in Todd's back. "What page are you on?" she asked. "Page 5, Todd answered. "Boy, are you dumb," said Joy. "I'm on page 29. "It isn't a race," Todd whispered. 5 minutes later, Joy pulled Todd's hair and didn't let go until he turned around. "What page are you on?" she demanded. "Page 6, Todd answered as quietly as he could. "I'm on page 200, Joy shouted. Todd was very angry. "Will you please let me do my work and stop bothering me?" Mrs. Jules heard him. "Todd, what did I say about talking in class?" Todd scratched his head. Miss Jules put a check next to Todd's name on the blackboard under the word discipline. Todd really tried to be good. He knew that if he talked one more time, Miss Jules would circle his name. Then he'd have to go home early at 12 o'clock on the kindergarten bus. Just as he had the day before and the day before that. In fact, there hadn't been a day since Mrs. Jules took over the class that she didn't send Todd home early. She said she did it for his own good. The other children went home at 2 o'clock. Todd wasn't really bad. He just always got caught. He really wanted to stay past 12 o'clock. He wanted to find out what the class did from 12 to 2. But it didn't look as though this was going to be his day. It was only 10:30. He already had 2 strikes against him. He sealed his lips and went back to work. There was a knock on the door. Miss Jules opened it. 2 men stepped in wearing masks and holding guns. "Give us all your money," they demanded. "All I have is a nickel," said Mrs. Jules. have a dime, said Mauricia. I have 13 cents, said Leslie. I have 4 cents, said Damien. What kind of bank is this? Asked one of the robbers. It's not a bank, it's a school, said Todd. Can't you read? No, said the robbers. Neither can I, said Todd. Do you mean we walked all the way up 30 flights of stairs for nothing? Asked the robber. Don't you have anything valuable? Todd's eyes lit up. We sure do, he said. We have knowledge. He grabbed Joy's workbook and gave it to the robbers. Knowledge is much more valuable than money. Thanks, kid, said one of the robbers. Maybe I'll give up being a criminal and become a scientist, said the other. They left the room without hurting anybody. Now I don't have a workbook, complained Joy. Mrs. Jewell gave her a new one. Joy had to start all the way back at the beginning. Hey, Joy, what page are you on? Asked Todd. Page 1, Joy sighed. I'm on page 8, laughed Todd triumphantly. Mrs. Jewell heard him. She circled his name. Todd had 3 strikes against him. At 12 o'clock, he left the room to go home early on the kindergarten bus. But this time, when he left, he was like a star baseball player. Leaving the field, all the children stood up, clapping their hands, and whistled. Todd scratched his head. All right, that's the end of chapter 5. Here's your exit task. Use a paper and pencil to answer the following question. How would you describe Mrs. Jewell's personality? Use her words, feelings, actions, and thoughts to explain your answer. Your answer must include 1, a topic sentence. For example, I would describe Ms. Jewell as. Number 2, 3 supporting details, evidence of her actions, thoughts, feelings, and words from this chapter or the previous 2 chapters that prove or support the personality trait you chose. Number 3, a conclusion. Mrs. Jewell is blank because blank. I look forward to seeing your work. Don't forget to take a picture and text it to me via Instagram or my telephone by Friday. Have a great week.